Hi Shitish,
Hi sir, good afternoon.
good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good sir. How about you?
एकदम बढ़िया भाई.
I think अभी 9 मिनट है. We'll start at 3.
Sure, sure.
Hi, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
uh, Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the session. This is Reena Sharma. I'm heading procurement in Metal Spy and currently the moderator of the session. So, uh, can we have, okay, no one shows me. We can start, right? Shitisa, sir? You're not audible.
We can, yeah.
So, for decades, procurement in this industry ran on phone calls, relationship, and gut feel. In the last few years, this has been quietly rewritten. Price discovery that used to take days now take minutes, and generation of platform is trying to answer one question: how much of this can actually be digitized, and how much still needs a human on the other end of the line? That's what we are here to dig into today. Not just the promise of digital procurement, but the ground reality of it. So, in 5 years, will the procurement managers still be negotiating deals, or will they just be signing off on what an algorithm already decided for them, the best price for them? So, with this question on my mind, I'd like to introduce the panelists of the session. We have Mr. Naman Shah. He's founder of Now Purchase and Metal Cloud. Mr. Shah has turned foundry procurement, one of India's most unglamorous and most fragmented market, into a business foundry actually trust. We have Mr. Vedant Goyal with us. He's the director of Enlight Metal. Mr. Goyal, he runs a steel marketplace that sends business to his own competitors and is betting that exactly what makes buyer come back to him. Then we have Mr. Nitin Jain. He's strategic advisor for Metal Spy and also the co-founder of business. Mr. Jain built one of India's largest procurement platform of business and is valued at over $5 billion. He is now advising Metal Spy, an aggregator of raw material of steel industry, on how digital procurement can make procurement of raw material more efficient. So with this, I would like to start my set of questions with you, Namansa. So you didn't stop at building procurement platform, right? You went a layer deeper into the foundry itself with Metal Cloud, which actually looks at melting chemistry and defect detection on the shop floor. That's an unusual move for someone who started in sourcing. Why you go from procurement into the furnace itself with Metal Cloud? What did you see happening on the shop floor that a pure sourcing platform couldn't fix?
Sure. Thanks, Reena, for the question. Thanks, Kshitij, for having me here. Hi, Vedant. Hi, Nitin. Great to connect.
Hi.
For us, we don't look at it as different things. Primarily, the way we look at it is that we are trying to control and own the furnace area of a metal manufacturer. We primarily supply everything which goes inside the furnace, scrap, alloys, additives, pig iron, and the likes of it. And then our technology layer, Metal Cloud, sort of advises the customer or the factory on how they should run their melting process with the furnace. So for us, it's sort of a very synergistic view we have. From the outside, of course, it looks like two very different businesses, but from our inside, it's a very high synergy for us. That's one. Second is that in the B2B space, technology in the B2B commerce space, in specific, technology has not really played a huge lever or role in the ecosystem yet, where it has been more of a good to have. And our thesis is that there is a value to sort of create a long-term proposition from technology, which can differentiate you in the long term. Otherwise, it would sort of become very dependent on capital discounts and credit as a business scales. So those are two clear thoughts on why we sort of building Metal Cloud and how we sort of look at it from the picture of us being originally in the sourcing business. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Well, looks like I have one, like a main question I had is what's the moment of gap that made you decide foundry procurement needed a new platform, not just a better supplier?
Sure. So we primarily, when we're building and we're pivoting our business in late 2020, early 21, we are primarily looking at finding a space where we could sort of be a, I would say, larger fish in maybe a small to mid-sized pond rather than be just one of the 20 other players. And for us, a foundry turned out to be one such space where it's a large enough space, but not recognized as a large enough space by the outsider world because no one knows it's a very fragmented industry, though it's 5,000 plus companies, $20 billion annual output, $10 billion annual procurement. People look at it as a unknown, small, fragmented industry, but it's still a very, very large industry. And most of the raw materials which foundries buy are not coming from OEMs. So maybe for a large aluminum producer, they might be buying from a Nalco or a Hindalco, or a large construction company, they buy a TMT from a Tata or a JSW, and so on. But a foundry is buying more so stuff which is relatively unorganized, stuff like metal scrap, ferroalloys, additives, and so on. And a lot of this, even if it's organized, it's not coming directly from OEMs. It's coming from primary traders, brokers, agents, indenters, various very heavy intermediary layer. And hence, there was an opportunity to sort of create a go-to platform for these 5,000 odd foundries in India.
Okay. With that. So my next question is, foundries are small, like often single owner operations, which are running from decades old relationship. And on the ground reality of getting someone like that to trust a platform over a phone call to a supplier he's already known for 20 years.
Sure. So, in general, B2B, I've not just they can all sort of attest to it. B2B is having a component of relationships which you can't discount, irrespective whatever you do. You're doing a startup, you're building a technology platform, you're building a manufacturing company. Relationships are central to B2B business, and the challenge is how do you scale that still, right? And how do you sort of decode that relationship so that it scales with your organization? So for us, that has been primarily a combination of not pure technology, not pure relationship, but sort of having a technology-led approach where we are leveraging technology to sort of solve for day-to-day things around operations. While we do understand a B2B relationship is going to be very, very valuable. And how do you build that relationship? Now, the fact that these relationships have been around for 20, 30 years, 40 years, depending on the customer and the vendor, is definitely a challenge. But I say this sometimes to my team when they say कि सर वो तो 20 साल से खरीद रहे हैं हमसे. Typically is that relationships are somewhat, to some extent, there is a combination of price, credit, quality, and delivery, which this relationship is gonna get made tangible with. So while we think it's intangible, there is a price, credit, quality, delivery, which equals to the relationship, if not 100% of it, maybe 80% of it. And that 80% of it is you can solve. So that's the sort of the approach we take. While we solve for that, we of course do various community activities around how people look at our business. We do engage with them for workshops on how they can upskill their customers on an AI level, on a technology level. What are the best practices? Can we give them transparency around price data? So these are also ways to build relationships, right? By providing value add to the customer. So there's a transaction layer of price, quality, credit, delivery, and then there is a value add layer which you can do in a way you can scale. I can't talk to every business owner one to one, which is a limitation which I have if you want to scale this. But there are other ways to solve for it. So yeah, that's sort of the thought process on it. Yeah.
Rima, you're on mute. Can you please unmute?
Sorry, yeah. So what's a real deal that fell apart or nearly failed because of our digital adoption gap, not a pricing gap? Naman sir?
Sorry, could you come back on the question, Ina? If you could just explain the question once more.
Yeah. I asked that what's the real deal that fell apart or nearly failed because you have adopted this digital thing, right? And not the pricing gap.
Okay, so you're saying what did not work because of us having a digital layer?
Yeah. Like since you have adopted this completely digital thing, right? You have moved to technical part. So what's one thing that didn't go with that? Like there might be some challenges or what's going really off with that, adopting the technology.
Sure, sure. So, in India, technology adoption, especially when manufacturing, especially in MSME manufacturing, is super difficult. So, I think for us, we realize that technology adoption still needs hands-on and feet on the street, right? On not on selling but adoption. So even if sales are happening maybe on a Zoom call like this, but a lot of times the technology teams are actually working with people on the ground. And we initially failed when we were trying to have software people do adoption or training the team. But today, our adoption team is primarily made of engineers who have worked in manufacturing. So the people who work with us on the software metal cloud side adoption are not so much people from SaaS businesses, but a lot of them are engineers, mechanical, who might have spent a couple of years at a large steel company or a Vedanta, and then decided to join now purchase because it was at the intersection of technology and metals. So that's how we have solved for it. Apart from that, in general, we have pivoted the business a few times to eventually find product market fit. So that's been a lot of learning where a lot of things which seemed the best on paper, on reality, just did not work out. So I'm sure there's all of us have immense such examples.
Yes, please.
So I'll not sort of get into that, but yeah, that's a quick thought there.
Okay. So my next set of questions to you, Vedansa. So one thing that stands out about Enlight is the promise of 24-hour delivery backed by warehouses across India. That's a very different pitch from just quoting a good price online. So what made you build a digital marketplace on top of an existing distribution business instead of just calling distribution the traditional way?
Okay, so thank you, Reena. Thank you, Kshitij. Thanks to World Metal and Mining for organizing this event. And thank you so much for inviting me. So my name is Vedant Goel, Director at Enlight Metals Private Limited. So, Reena, you asked me about the 24-hour delivery and the dark stores we have. So currently we have around 5 dark stores in India. And we have in specifically some of the pin codes, we are committing to deliver material within 24 hours after processing of the raw material. So we specifically deal in HR, CR, and GP. Also in structural steel, pipe, and TFT bar. So some of the pin codes near to Pune, Bombay, Nagpur, Chhattisgarh, MP, and Gujarat, we are assuring delivery of 24 hours because we have few of the dark stores. सो मैं आपको थोड़ा सा पहले लेके जाऊंगा, आज से 10-15 साल पहले। अगर आज आपको घर से कोई एक छोटा सा शैम्पू का बॉटल लेना होता या एक छोटा सा तेल की पैकेट लेनी होती, तो आप लोगों को 1 घंटा लग जाता आपके नियर बाय दुकान में जाने के लिए। बट अगर आज आप देखोगे आफ्टर कोविड, स्विगी, जेप्टो, ब्लिंकिट, एवरीवन इज डूइंग डिलीवरी विद इन 10 minutes. So why can't still be delivered within 24 hours? We have decided, and our internal logistics team we have in specifically Pune and surrounding area of Pune, 88% of our delivery has been completed within 24 hours. Secondly, we have our AI enabled platform. We have our dashboard, which is AI enabled internally, where according to the pin code, according to the stock availability, according to the dimensions availability, the grades availability, thicknesses, all the parameter, we have a defined platform where our platform is going to identify कि ये वाली डिलीवरी 24 घंटे के अंदर हो सकती है या नहीं हो सकती है। वी आर वेरी हैप्पी टू से हम लोगों ने बहुत सारी डिलीवरी जो है 12 से 13 घंटे में भी की है आज के टाइम पे।
That's awesome. Okay, so my next question is, steel is standardized, right? So it's raised. The grades differ, mill origin, the delivery timelines, deal to deal, right? The specifications. What's the ground reality of quoting that accurately online versus over phone negotiation?
So every order can vary based on grades, dimension, meal preference, quantity, availability, freight cost, payment terms, delivery term. So buying a commodity online, steel procurement require technical validation. So what we do, we have our in-house team also, where before taking any order, we have our one of our team member or sales coordinator contact to the customer. Technology help us to collect requirement quickly and compare multiple supplier options. So, for example, if you want to supply in Chhattisgarh or Maharashtra or in of the area where we don't have a dark store, we contact to our registered vendors of supplier with us, and we check the availability of stock material, and we deliver the material. Secondly, we are one of the largest stockists in Bombay, so we have our stockyard in Bombay, Pune, Nagpur, and Raipur, and also we have some tie-up with the dark stores who have the stock available in the specific pin codes. So if the stock is available with us, so we will deliver the raw material. If stock is not available with us, we make sure the our supplier help us to check the availability of raw material and deliver. And it all depends on the multiple parameters such as grade, dimension, and meal preference.
Okay. So it's appearing like a lot of things need to be matched, right, before making a successful order. So I just want,
So steel is
yeah.
not a MRP based product. So
Right.
it all depends on your requirement. This is a tailor made. This is a custom made order. Like
Mhm.
if you are ordering us, you're not ordering a MRP product, and steel cannot be a MRP product. This is a commodity where it depends on the multiple parameters.
So I'm just curious to know, like, can you please walk us through what it actually takes to deliver in 24 hours? Is that warehousing discipline? Is it the capability of the software that you're using, or it's just the capital tied up in inventory sitting across the country?
So delivering within 24 hours isn't about one factor, it's combination of three capabilities. First, we have a strong supplier and dark store network strategically positioned across different regions, which includes Pune, Mumbai, Raipur, Nagpur, MP. May we have in Indore, we have in Ahmedabad. Second, technology gives us real-time visibility into inventory, supplier availability. If we don't have the stock availability, so with the help of AI, with the help of machine learning, we get to know the supplier stock availability. And the most important factor is logistics planning. Third, operational discipline is critical. Procurement, logistics, dispatch, and customer service teams must coordinate seamlessly to execute every order. So these are the three main parameters where we help to deliver within 24 hours.
Yeah, get that. So, what's a common challenge buyers still raise, even after adopting your marketplace? Something that digital hasn't actually fixed.
So technology has improved many aspects of procurement, but there are still some challenges that require human involvement. One of the biggest concern remains quality, consistency, and supplier trust, especially for the first-time purchases or critical projects. Digital platform can provide transparency and documentation, but confidence is ultimately built through reliable execution over time and with the human interference only. So we believe in trust is gained through consistent performance, not just through technology. Technology is one of the major factor, but human intervention is very important. आज के टाइम पे इंडिया में व्हेन यू ऑर्डर एनीथिंग ऑन Amazon on Flipkart, they most of the members want to talk to their customer care to understand the specification, जबकि with all the products written on the product page.
Sir, I have a
Agree.
question over here. We were discussing about the challenges, and personally, for me, I've seen Naman sir and Vedant sir, their journey from yeah, I would say around 2018. Say I've been seeing them, and the kind of growth and the kind of passion which you two have created a brand, have been amazing. Personally, I've been inspired by both of you. A lot. So one of the problem statement that I see, you were referring to Amazon and Flipkart. When people buy from Amazon or a Flipkart, usually they don't negotiate. At
Correct.
times I've seen in Amazon, certain products are expensive than what they can get the same product quite at a cheaper rate from the local market. But steel predominantly is still a negotiation driven business. And there I see a lot of challenge. I'm sure you all must have been facing the similar challenge as well. So how do you think, will it change fundamentally in the future, or we'll have to figure out another way wherein the integration of negotiation can be done on the platform? Because still now, even for 20-25 rupees you may lose a deal in steel.
So, Shidri bhai, I want to answer, then Naman bhai, you enter. So आपने जो पॉइंट बोला है उससे मैं थोड़ा सा अग्री करता हूँ, थोड़ा सा अग्री नहीं करता हूँ, बिकॉज if you really observe steel business is, so there is very little margin in steel when you deliver any material. So like we are serving to more than 200 customers in India right now. So there are so many customers, like we supply to Tata Motors, Mahindra, to most of the airports, to railways. We supply to ICF, to we supply to almost top 10 builders in India. So before pricing, the most important factor is reliability. देर आर सो मेनी कस्टमर्स हु सेज टू अस कि सर आप 500 रुपये ऊंचा ले लो लेकिन मेरे को टाइम पे डिलीवरी दे दो। अगर आपने टाइम पे डिलीवरी नहीं दिया तो मेरी जो 500 लेबर बैठी है और जो मेरे पूरे दिन भर का कॉस्ट जाएगा उसको आई कैन नॉट मेंटेन। So pricing is very important factor, but reliability is very important in steel factor. As you said कि Amazon में there are no negotiation factor. Similarly जब Amazon और Flipkart इंडिया में आए थे तो उन लोगों को भी डिस्काउंट से लोगों को अट्रैक्ट कर रहे थे, बट आज के टाइम पे दे आर नॉट ऑफरिंग वेरी हाई डिस्काउंट, बट दे आर मेजरली फोकसिंग ऑन द रिलायबिलिटी ऑफ डिलीवरीज।
Correct, I agree. But probably Naman sir, your experience could have been different because foundry people are specifically. I mean, this is what I believe that they are very much price conscious as well. So
See, I don't think it's about foundry or steel or aluminium or whether we are buying vegetables or whether we are buying clothes. It's about us being Indian. And as Indians, we like deals, we like negotiation. That is part of our DNA. It doesn't matter what we buy.
correct, correct.
Now, this manifests in different ways across different platforms. So for example, let's say, why is a company like Cash Karo so famous in the e-commerce space? That is eventually giving you an option to get some deal or some discount or some negotiation. There's a good number of people who will look at a Flipkart versus a Swiggy versus an Amazon, then buy. In fact, I saw some app which now compares between Instamart, Blinkit, and Zepto. And there's an app which does that comparison, then lets you order.
Correct.
So the negotiation is happening. It might not be happening on the platform. It is happening cross platform. And then you're finding the deal. You're waiting for the big billion day sale. You're waiting for the prime days, etc., etc. So there's a way of. So the negotiation is not about negotiation. It's about getting a deal. That is the मोटिवेशन। अब वो डील कैसे मिलता है आपके ऊपर है, वो डिस्काउंट देके मिलता है कि कैशबैक से मिलता है कि नेगोशिएट करके मिलता है। दैट इज द मैकेनिज्म ऑफ गेटिंग दैट डील, and mechanism of getting that good deal happens in different ways in different companies. It could be getting a deal, it could be cashback, it could be negotiation. So that is the way I look at it. And hence, yes, there is a negotiation piece which does happen, but that is not negotiating because I don't trust the price. That is negotiating because I will negotiate. That is,
Correct.
if I don't do that, maybe I've not done something right as a owner, as a purchaser. So that is how I look at it. Yeah.
That is a part of their SOP.
Yes, part of my SOP, part of my DNA. Yeah.
Correct, correct. Thank you. Over to you, Reena ji.
Okay, thanks. So moving next to Nitin sir, Nitin Jain. Sir, you have probably seen more of this industry digitization than anyone on the stage. So first from the off business side and now advising an aggregator on the inside. So like what's the core problem you set out to solve when off business started? Procurement, financing, or is both from day one?
Yeah, I mean, the core problem that we set out to solve was that when we went to the SMEs, we saw that distributors were willing to give material. Only local distributors were willing to give material, right? No one would put their hand up, or it was not easy to discover new distributors from, let's say, even 100 kilometers away, right? So you had a local. So if you're sitting in Faridabad, you would only go to 5 or 6 distributors in Faridabad, not even in Delhi NCR, right? Not even in Noida, not even in Ghaziabad. So we said that listen, we can actually open up the entire India for the SMEs, because the SMEs don't have resources, we have resources. We'll build the tech angle and we can open up everything for them. Second, what we figured out is the distributors were not willing to give credit that easily, right? So if you're an SME, you approach a new distributor, there's no way the distributor is giving you credit unless until you do like 1 year's worth of transactions with them. So we said that we know the SMEs, we are doing all the due diligence for looking at the documents, etc. Why can't we be that intermediary credit layer, right? And let any distributor supply or any manufacturer supply. So that was the first key major pain point. And then we said that the banks are interested in only giving money and longer credit and not supplying material. So we merged the two aspects together. We said that listen, will be doing financing and we will be doing pan India aggregation as well for these SMEs, and we'll try and lower the cost heavily for these guys, right? Because the distributors charge a humongous amount of credit cost inbuilt into the pricing, and they're very opaque about it. So this was the problem that we set out to solve, and we set out to solve using tech completely, right? So in no time, we were serving close to about 20, 30,000 SMEs in about 3 years, 4 years time, and now today, off business serves close to about a lakh SMEs, right? 100,000 SMEs across sectors. So we replicated the model starting from steel to aluminum, zinc, lead, copper, polymer, bitumen, etc., etc. Right? So multiple other things. So yeah. So this was our business model, and now I think with the onset of AI, completely my because I essentially deeply look at AI as an enabler and something that is going to disrupt right from top to bottom. I'm actually helping a few startups, plus I'm building one in the electronic component space as well, where we are being AI native procurement solution providers, right? Where our thesis is that in 2 years' time, you potentially will not have procurement managers, or we are assisting procurement managers to 10x their skills, right? So a procurement manager, according to us, should be doing cognitive tasks, not doing mundane tasks like sending out RFQs to new suppliers, discovering new suppliers, etc., etc. They should be evaluating new suppliers, according to us, evaluating the bids basis financial impact and so on and so forth, not mundane tasks. So that's our thesis, and we've been very successful at it in the initial few months, where we've seen the time of a typical procurement manager doing mundane tasks drop down to about, let's say, 10% of what it was initially. So AI is doing all the grunt work, all the heavy lifting. So they have to just think about, how do I classify, how do I evaluate this new vendor, instead of saying that, okay, let's test this new vendor by sending out RFQs, by getting in certain codes, evaluating those codes, doing all the mundane things, onboarding the supplier, getting the vendor evaluation done, getting all the documents from them. Everything is done by AI. The platform that I've kind of envisaged and built, and helping metals buy as well. So this is the journey that we are undertaking, yeah, and we're working with some of the big companies now.
Nice. So now that you're advising metals buy, which is digitizing raw material procurement, has your
Yeah.
view changed on how much of procurement can actually be done using technology versus how much still needs a sourcing relationship?
No, at the moment, everyone is doing it using relationships and manually, right? I would say 90%, 99% of India runs like that, because they feel that the cost of a human doing it is much less than implementing and learning that technology. So there are two things, right? One is the cost of learning that technology and the cost of implementing that technology. In my mind, cost of learning the technology is significantly high. Cost of implementing the technology, if it exists, is very low, right? So there is a no-brainer. The technology exists, that they will actually implement it. But
Mhm.
I think there's a trust factor yet to be formed in the Indian SME ecosystem. As like, it's not a new insight that I'm giving. It's like existed always. When a new technology comes in, the SMEs are the potentially the last ones to adopt this, because they are mistrusting of technology, that things can go wrong. Customers, vendors will mess up or get messed up, etc., etc. But we're out to change this, because now the AI has become supremely powerful to actually mimic human behavior, right? So I think a simple thing like, if you go to India Mart and if you put in, let's say, I want to buy 50 whatever welding electrodes, right? You'll get probably 20, 30 calls in 1 hour. Now, should you be the one taking all those calls and evaluating and wasting your time? Or can an AI agent actually go and put your RFQ in India Mart automatically? The vendors will call, it'll figure out, because most of the time the vendors only don't have electrodes, they'll be doing something else. So getting the vendors, qualifying the vendors, is this the right vendor for my this thing, and then inputting into the system, and then finally I get to choose from 3 or 4 vendors, right? So all these agents, etc. Now the tech is there to build. We've actually built all of this. So where our agent actually goes to the internet, puts in new RFQs in various websites. So we just prompt it with the website. It does the remaining, right? It puts in the RFQs, the vendors then give it a call. It has a phone number and everything. It evaluates which are the right vendors, then it qualifies the vendors and gives you a list of two or three that you have to finally judge, instead of 20, 30 calls or 1,000 emails or whatever. It does that autonomously now. I mean, that's the kind of tech that we're looking at and we built, right? So you can see the kind of advancement in tech there is. Yeah. So
That's really amazing to know. Like I would also like to add here, like the relationship part is still there. I don't know, like when people will be 100% on the tech side.
No, no, no. See, relationship will always exist, right? I'm not trying to demean relationship, but relationship with the new vendors formed once you do the initial due diligence. Now, you don't want to
Mhm.
do a relationship with a person who's supplying buttons instead of vending electrodes, right? As it happens with India Mart or Trade India, you put in an inquiry, you get a completely different sort of reply from a vendor saying that no, I don't have this, but I have this. What will you do with the other stuff, right? So you can have an AI agent at least filtering that
Filtering
out for
out.
you,
Yeah.
removing the mundane tasks and actually giving you those three or four vendors who are actually relevant and useful so that you can build relationship after that. AI will not build relationships, but at the same time, it can actually cut down your 90% of the work that you
True.
do manually and just make it very autonomous. That's it.
Okay. So, Mr. Jain,
Right.
one of our client from Bangladesh, BSRM, Bangladesh Steel Ruling Mill, he has a very interesting question specifically for you. He
Okay.
writes that several B2B commerce startup in India, such as Metal Street, Power to SME, struggle despite strong technology platform, while our business has scaled successfully. Given the extremely thin margin in steel and industrial commodities, is the real competitive advantage technology, or is it access to the working capital, supply chain, financing, and credit management?
Yeah, it's a combination of both,
Correct.
to be
I
very
agree.
honest with you, because what happens is that you work on very thin margins, but what we realized was that if the client doesn't have a lead time problem and if he's okay with getting 7 days instead of 2 days, and we source from Tamil Nadu to Delhi instead of Delhi to Delhi, and we take those 7 days to source, we can actually increase our margins, help them save on more cost because pan India we are able to see where the inventory is lying, at what cost it's lying, and what's the quality, etc. using tech. Right, so it's a combination. Of course, working capital really helps because we formed two companies, both are unicorns now. One was doing financing and one was doing aggregation. So obviously, it was good. Obviously, working capital really, really played a pivotal role. But at the same time, technology is not to be undermined because what generally happens is that okay, fine. Where do you need technology? You need technology to get initial clients, right? New clients. How do you get new clients, right? Otherwise, you'll have feet on street, you'll have people going and doing sales. How else will you reach out? You can't reach out through performance marketing. No one is really searching on Google, I want to buy 100 tons of steel if they're a big business, right? They may go to India Mart, best case, but not really, right? If they are serious buyers, they already have vendors and they have relationships. So we actually made a platform where we were able to do lead gen by giving prices out across India, by giving news articles and plus giving tender details that listen, you can go and bid for a tender. So we used to really understand we used to understand the SME ecosystem, what is the pain point, what do they really want, and then go after it so that they engage with us, and over a period of time if they need anything we are there to supply or to finance, right? So I would say, I would not say that working capital was the only thing. Working capital is a very important thing, but at the same time I feel that tech played a extremely important role, extremely.
Well, I agree to that because I remember, tech played a very extremely important role in engaging your client. I was a part of Bringme during that time, and
Oh, is it?
yeah, I still remember the chat that Off Business has launched, wherein you can just type the commodity name and you get the live prices.
Yeah, so we're the first ones to bring AI when ChatGPT was not even
Correct,
famous.
correct, correct, correct. I remember that back in 2019, I believe 2019, 2020. I guess
Yeah,
somewhere around that time.
yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, happy to answer any more questions if you have.
Yeah, I have one more question for you, sir. So SMEs in manufacturing run on thin margins, as you just said, and delayed payment. What's the ground reality of getting them adopt a digital platform when cash flow, not technology, is their real daily constraint?
No, I didn't. So a question for me.
Yeah, it's
You're
for you.
saying that SMEs face working capital challenge more than anything else. So why can't, so we should be focusing on that rather than digital adoption?
Yeah, like
Or
I just want to
so,
understand what's on
so
ground
I'll
it
tell you,
look
I'll
like.
tell you something, right? Now let's understand the SME's mindset, right? So SME is like one promoter, one father, daughter, or mother, son, mother, daughter combo working the entire company, right? And it's a
Mhm.
100 crore company or a 50 crore company. Now, if you uh, if you look at that, now they have to do everything themselves. Now, if they're doing everything themselves from chasing customers, integrating with ERP, or getting tally access, getting tally reports, figuring out what to do and so on and so forth. Half the time they're not chasing customers, they're not getting their cash flows realized, they don't know what the problem is. They're not chasing vendors are chasing them, but they're not replying, so vendors stop giving material to them. So they're stuck in this hole. They have dead inventory lying somewhere which doesn't exist, etc., etc. So they have 50,000 things to manage at the same time, right? So
Right.
we know because we bought over a few SMEs to scale them up, right? So we understand their challenge very deeply. Now, if you have people doing mundane tasks, but you need to have promoters doing really cognitive work, right? Going after really key stuff, not doing mundane tasks. End of story. As soon as you have people doing mundane tasks, you will lose out on time in doing really cognitive work, chasing after your key customers for money and so on and so forth, right? So as soon as you get them to adopt this, you'll get them to free up their time to really do things that really matter and get them onto cash flows, or engage with other agencies like SIDB who give them collateral free cash flows. I'm just giving one or two examples. Obviously there are multi examples that are there, or really optimizing their working capital cycle with inventory or creditor days or debtor days, etc., etc. Figuring out which are the debtors that are random and that you need to get rid of. Now the tech is able to really do that, right? So that's what it is. Yeah.
So another interesting question which I would like to ask from Mr. Naman Shah and Mr. Vedant Goel would be, again, it is asked by one of our user, and but it is quite an interesting one. India aims to become 500 million ton steel economy by 2047. Do you believe this target can be achieved without fully digital procurement or commerce ecosystem? Again, obviously, I don't believe this would be achievable during that time. But then, what structural changes are still needed is what one of our attendees asking. And again, I'll add on to this question, sir. How much percentage of the transaction do you think by 2030 and by 2047? 2047 is a bit fast stretched, I believe. But by 2030, how much percentage of the transaction do you see, will take place digitally in a completely digital ecosystem? Over to you, Naman.
So give or take today, the number which is being done by technology-led distribution companies or internet-enabled distribution companies or B2B commerce companies would be sub 2 to 3%, or maybe 3%, depending on how you look at the data. But it's sub 5% for sure, and potentially even 2-3%. So that is first thing to recognize. That's one. Two is that it's important to recognize that today also it's not purely digital, even in the B2B commerce space. It's like internet-led. And purely digital is still some time away. And that is primarily due to a function of 2-3 things. One is that people are looking at ways to get trust, right? And the trust needs to be established somehow. And if that trust can be established because of relationship, it's relationship. There's trust gets established because of who else is my customer. That becomes thing, and people want to get trust. There was an interesting study that around uh, very only around 15 or 20% of the people who have access to let an LLM like a chat GPT or a Claude make a payment on their behalf are actually using it to make a payment on their behalf. Even though they know it works, but still there's a trust deficit, despite them being large companies. So there's a trust which becomes an integral part of this whole picture. And are you able to scale trust and solve for it by making it digital is the question. And if we talk about 20 years from now, cost of manpower will keep increasing in India, which would mean that we have to reduce the time and the number of manpower required for same things. We have to reduce the lot of productivity losses which happen in India due to there being not being an organized space and people having to maybe do the same thing twice or thrice, right? And that is something which will need to be solved to potentially get there. And I don't think it's like the only thing required to get to 500 million tons, but it's going to play a pivotal role to get there, because eventually there's going to be a huge amount of development which will need on us being able to get the maximum productivity out of our steel companies. Like, for example, average foundry in India does a 5% rejection rate. An average foundry in China is at 0.4%. That's the difference we're talking about. So, and an average foundry in US is probably at 1%. So it's not just a digital commerce system, but how do these factories become more productive, more efficient, is going to be a huge piece of the whole puzzle. Yeah.
Okay. So, if you have really observed, there are around 20 online platforms in India right now. And the point is, most of the online platforms are now not 100% dealing in their supply of the raw material. So there are human interference. Uh, as Naman Bhai shared, trust is very important. Without trust, the customer is not going to make the payment. Also, the online platform is not going to supply the raw material because steel is a capital intensive business, and most of the SMEs require steel on a credit terms. So if you specifically ask me, I don't say think after 5 years also most of the organization or most of the SMEs are going to buy steel online through a platform because the ticket size of a steel is very high and very big. This is not a 10,000, 20,000 ticket size where anyone can come and swipe their credit card. And also there are so many parameters of the stock availability, grades availability. So it all depends, and definitely human interference is very important. And like we are definitely promoting online platforms, but we also have a 50 people, 60 people sales team right now who are definitely going to meet the customer to understand their requirement.
Exactly. So another interesting question, another question for Mr. Naman Shah would be, I was watching one of your interview, an old interview, uh, where you talk about the need for a real-time data, and you correctly mentioned over there that any data which is old is not relevant. So, we would also like to understand from you the importance of real-time data. Availability of the real-time data in India is still a challenge, despite there are several startup or the companies which do focus on providing the data. But like you mentioned in that interview, we would like you to explain the importance of that for a digital e-procurement marketplace.
Sure, sure. So I'll explain the importance of that from the perspective of why it's important for the manufacturing ecosystem. And so, we have been talking about real-time data for a while now. I think it's been a while since I've been talking about that. But of late, there's a buzzword around the AI space, as well as people in the Valley and maybe the Bangalore circles, about context engineering. And I'm sure Mr. Nitin here would have also heard about a lot of these people doing crazy about context engineering. That, okay, it was prompt engineering, now everything's around context engineering. Now, all that is great, but no context engineering can happen with your AI if the data is not real time and not real.
That I completely agree with. Data is absolutely has to be real time. It has to be right here, right now, and before without that, it's going to give random answers. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, like Nathan saying, if data is not real time and real, the answers are random. So even if you want to use AI, which everyone like, oh, we'll use AI in a factory, we'll use AI in a factory. How will you use AI in your factory if you don't have good data? So that is the first thing to understand, that this data problem and the AI problem are very much linked to each other, right? It's not like, okay, I can use AI without real time data. So that is first things first. Now, when I look at a manufacturing space, there is huge amount of data being generated. It's just that it is absolute, obsolete, lagging, redundant data, which is not actionable, most often than not able to easily searchable. For example, I'm sure Vedant, Nitin, all of us have been to factories. You'll see log sheets in every factory. Irrespective of what that factory makes, there's log sheets. Now, if you look at the log sheet and you look at the process parameters, everything seems perfect. So technically, no factory should ever have a quality loss or quality issue because they followed the process 100%. But quality issues happen because whatever they write on the log sheet is not real. It is just an assumption wrote at the end of the shift. It's not a real-time data being recorded. So our primary thesis on which we have been building Metal Cloud has been primarily to look at real-time data right from sources like log sheets on how we do digitize it. One, look at how do we create a IoT and sensor network to be able to capture that data. Two, and three, how do we now look at all the visual and process data by leveraging the CCTV feed. So even if it happened at the right temperature, at the right with the right temperature, but it happened for the right amount of time. Did happen for 40 seconds instead of 50 seconds. Now that's something a CCTV can say. Now all that data, once it is in sync and layered on each other, and you could connect it to AI available various API of different large LLM companies. Then is when you could create magic and potentially create a second brain for the factory, which not only has the information, but it has information for them to act first and react first. Yeah.
Uh, Thank you, sir. That again very well answers the question. Reena ji, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. So, Naman sir, my next question is to you. Like between now purchase and Metal Cloud, where's the bigger win for a foundry? Better sourcing price or better control over what happens once the material is inside the furnace?
Sure. So, I think I would not look at it like that because raw material is almost what you need to do for today, and Metal Cloud is for your tomorrow. You need substantial, good quality raw materials to get your show running today. And if you don't get onto a technology or AI back, it's not about Metal Cloud, irrespective of however you do it. As long as you are getting real time data, getting AI adopted, it's going to be valuable. So it's important for tomorrow because in India already there is labor shortages being reported at various places. The ability to get skilled labor is getting very difficult, and the quality consciousness of buyers, OEMs are getting through the roof. So if you're not able to live up to these realities, you'll not be able to potentially grow or exist in a decade from today. So it's one is for today, one is for tomorrow. That's how I would say it. Yeah.
Okay. Coming to you with answer. So, like I have this question since I'm also doing procurement. So, when a buyer get a bad batch or a delayed delivery, how does a dispute resolution work differently on a marketplace versus a direct relationship with a known distributor?
So the
With
biggest
answer.
yep. Okay. So the biggest advantage of a structured marketplace is accountability. Instead of the buyer having to individually coordinate with multiple suppliers, we become the single point of responsibility. Our team coordinate, qualify, verification, documentation, supplier communication, and resolution timeless. As we have the multiple dark stores, there are multiple accounts, there are multiple QA person are there who priorly check. Second, with the help of our dispatch team and the quality team, we have for each and every customer, we create a WhatsApp group, and also we have our Zoho platform, which is enabled for a customer also. So whenever a specific material is loaded, so there are around 8 to 10 photos are clicked and specifically shared with the customer. Second, we have the end-to-end traceability of the raw material from where the material is get loaded, and the documentation is very very important. So like we have more than 1,000 WhatsApp groups of our customers. We have 1,000 plus of Zoho platform, which our customers generally use. So our customer don't need to go or don't need to call to anyone for any of the documentation, test certificates, or invoice copy, or e-way bill, or we have the online GPS enable tracking system with our Zoho platform. Whatever detail you need. So if you have ordered anything in the month of January also, you can go click and check all the photos, whatever the material has been loaded. So there are very less chances of the rejection at the customer place.
And just like, curious to know more, like what's the ratio of complaint you're getting, like if you're getting any with this like hard QC process?
So definitely there are complaints. Uh, I believe there are around 2 or 2.5% complaints which raise, but definitely we have very strict SOPs for loading of the raw material, loading of the processing of the material, and also we have our quality team. So the quality team visits to the customer immediately and do the resolution part.
Okay, great. Now my next question is to you, Nitin sir. So, as an advisor now sitting closer to the aggregation side, what's one thing about how traditionally raw material procurement is done that platform builders like you originally underestimate?
Repeat the question again. I didn't understand the last part of the question.
Okay, so since you are now sitting as an advisor on the aggregation side, so what's one thing about how traditionally raw material procurement is done that platform builders like you originally underestimated? What you have learned like recently with your advisory seat?
No, I think more can be done with less now.
Okay.
Right? So I think now the change will be like you don't need as much working capital, you don't need as many people to handle a lot of things. A lot of tech integration becomes easy. Earlier, technology was a big bottleneck to find good developers, etc. Now, none of them is none. I mean, whatever you want to do, you can get done easily. So I don't think that's going to be a problem anymore. So I think you just have to really get done a lot with a lot less, right? So you don't need as much funding, financing, and so on and so forth. It can be done with a lot less. Customer acquisition now can be done with a lot less. And yeah, with the introduction of AI, all this becomes a lot easier.
Okay. So I think we are running a little short on time, so I'll just move to the next part. So I want to ask this question to all three of you. Right. Like, does adding credit into the platform actually solves trust, or does it just move the risk from buyer to lender? To you, Nitin sir.
I mean, no, it's solving a problem. It's not solving
Yeah.
the trust problem. I don't think so. I mean, solving a problem. The problem is that the SMEs are stretched for working capital because one, they're constantly needing capital to grow. They have limited assets. So the more number of vendors giving them credit, I mean, that's how they leverage, right? That's called operational leverage, really, in some sense, right? And that's how they're able to derive actually financial leverage from the vendors giving them capital, although it comes at a cost, right? So I don't think it's just the trust aspect that is there. It's the necessity that without that the ecosystem cannot work or flourish, right? So that needs to be sort of enabled even at a higher level. I mean, the government has done a lot. The ecosystem has done a lot with a lot of new age NBFCs coming forward and saying that, listen, we will take on more risks, more risk. We will understand using data how we can lower our NPAs like we had done. So I don't think it's just solving the trust issue where the vendors have to give credit to earn trust of the or whether the liability shifting from the distributor to the lender or from the SME to the lender, etc., etc. I think it's a necessity. Right? Lenders would not exist if they're not making money. Right. So let's be very clear that it's one of the most profitable trades still. It's extremely profitable to run an NBFC if done right. So it's not as if NBFCs are doing anyone a favor or someone is doing a favor on the NBFCs, right? It's not. It's a proper exercise where you have the return on capital needed. So yeah, I mean, we should view it that ways.
Okay. Naman sir, do you have any thoughts over this? Like, does adding credit to a platform this solves the trust issue?
I don't think. I think it's not a like Nitin said. It's not a trust issue. It's a requirement
Yeah.
of the Indian landscape, given that there is a huge credit deficit in the MSME space, which we are. There are various initiatives like say TREADS and others which the government is doing to try to solve it, but it's a part of the game which you can't currently ignore. I'm sure. Obviously, Nitin and all built the Oxizo platform, but I'm sure everyone who's in the B2B trade would be happy to let go of credit and run the business without it if they had an option, right? And no one's doing it because they want to do it. They're doing it because it's a necessary component of the business. They can't do without it, right? So that's the reality.
Right. So, I'll just wrap up the session with like few one-liner questions. Yeah, quick fire for all. So 5 years from now, does a buyer in this room still needs to compare quotes manually, or has this division been fully automated out of their job? Naman sir.
Sorry, could you repeat the last part?
Like 5 years from now, the buyers from in this room, like they still need to do things manually, or
You're
will their
talking
decision
five
will
years
be
from now
automated?
or 6 months from now? I think you're talking about 6 months from now. This will happen. That's my
So no,
take on it.
so yeah, I think
Okay,
in
six
terms
months.
of mundane work, which we are talking about, whether it's 6 months or 5 years, the mundane work definitely will be automated. Documentation, collecting TCs, e-way bill, invoices, DN, CN, debit note, credit note, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. Definitely the entire documentation. So, like I say, the pre-transaction, post-transaction part will 100% be automated. So now there is
Yeah.
the part beyond the transaction itself, right? That transaction itself might have a component which has some human dependency depending on the trust layer and the value, but the pre and post transaction would definitely be automated. Yeah.
No, and you know, the SMEs, whoever is your audience for this particular chat or your podcast, I mean, they need to understand that they need to start adopting technology at a fast, rapid pace. Otherwise, they are going to be antiquated or they're going to be made, they're going to fall behind the race. And the sooner they start
Agreed.
thinking about research and development of their capex and moving towards an automation cycle, even if the ROI is like 3 years down the line, if they have some reserves and surplus, they should be investing it here. Is my take on it.
Okay. Vedanta, your thoughts?
Yep. So, technology and AI will automate code comparisons, but the final decision will still need human judgment. Factors like quality, supplier reliability, and project urgency can't be decided by price alone. Secondly, I started my career around 15 years ago, and I was doing 7 8 years of traditional way of business. And whatever we are doing right now, I see a very big gap. Traditional doing of business and the current part is totally different. And with the help of AI, all the SMEs needs to understand the importance of technology. With the help of technology, you can definitely increase your productivity, whatever you are doing right now.
Okay. Chetan sir, let's just need to know about the timings. So
We still have 3 minutes left.
3 minutes. Okay. I'll just have like one question. Like since I'm doing procurement, so I'm just curious to know, like in next 6 months, what a procurement head or procurement manager should do, adopt, technology wise, platform wise, or like whatever you guys suggest. With answer?
So, as a procurement head, definitely you should have very good relationship. You should gain trust within the internal community, and definitely improvise the AI skill, because right now everyone is talking about AI, but no one is implementing as of now. Everyone wants to know what exactly is AI, how that is going to help, but implementation is the most important part. What we see right now.
Agree. Naman sir,
So I think pretty much.
advice for me.
Yeah, no. I think primary, you should audit your time. More practical, just think you should audit your time on how much percentage of your time is going on repetitive, non-value accretive, non-high cognitive activities, and that could potentially be automated with a few hours on Claude or whichever platform, and of course, or you can use the agents. Nitin is. Obviously creating the platform and that would should sort of solve it, and the value should be on finding the research, finding the next, like for example, there's usually, like, I interviewed someone recently for a procurement role and I asked, like, oh, why don't you use this kind of scrap in your factory? And they're like, oh, we don't have any idea, we have been told not to buy this scrap. That was the answer, right? So now that is the reality where a lot of procurement people are just buying what they're told to buy, but not buying what's the best thing for the factory. So if procurement people can go from buying what they're told to buy versus actually buying what's the best thing for the factory, that is going to create real value for the procurement professionals, at least working in a metal manufacturing organization. Yeah.
Answer your thoughts. I need like for procurement managers, any advice from your end? Jen sir, There?
So sorry, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Could you repeat the question? Sorry, I missed that
Yeah.
part.
Do you have any advice for the procurement managers or whoever doing procurement in the next 6 months? What they should do, what they should start doing?
Cut out mundane work from your life and start thinking about more cognitive work, because otherwise you will be phased out. I mean, that's what, if you're just going and sending RFQs, receiving quotes, entering quotes, getting a sign off from your manager, or finding out new suppliers, and that's it. You will find it difficult.
Okay.
I would strongly suggest that get yourself on hooked onto AI to cut out mundane work. I mean, like for me, example, my team, 0% of emails to vendors are sent manually, all by AI agents. 0% of codes are entered into the system manually. Uh, New vendor development, new vendor discovery is done by AI. Vendor development and relationship is done by people.
Okay. With that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So with
And you
this,
guys, you guys should organize something where I can actually show the power of AI at work. So try and organize
definitely,
something as part of the forum.
definitely.
Uh,
Kshitij sir,
yeah,
this is for
definitely,
you.
sir. So we are planning something bigger very soon. Again, we'll definitely connect with you. So
Yeah.
before we end this session, I would personally like to thank all three of you. So Nitin Jain sir was not in the plan, but we ultimately hit the jackpot at the last moment as well. So this panel become all the more relevant with his inclusion. Uh, Naman sir and Vedant sir, both of them, I've been closely associated with both of them. I've seen them work hard. नमन सर को मैंने पहले भी बोला था कि I've seen him slogging a lot when the now purchase was new, and I've seen both of their journey, from uh, and really appreciate that I do understand, digital marketplace is still a challenge in India. Uh, having been associated with Metals by as one of their consultant, I have seen a lot of challenges. I understand that challenges being a part of metal ecosystem, but with the kind of passion with which all of you are working, obviously our business has already done it. Uh, and again, last couple of days we have had several sessions wherein in each and every session, all the industry expert, you may not believe it, but then सारे के सारे लोगों ने at least once time they, at least once in that entire discussion they mentioned that digital procurement is the future of India.
I'm glad.
So yeah,
Me too.
that has happened. But then again, the
That's
technology
it.
adoption is slow. But then you guys are the forefront runner for this change if it has to come in the society. Thanks a lot for accepting our invitation and supporting us for this conference. Personally, would like to thank all of you uh, for my side.
Thank you so much, Hitesh, for having us
Thank
here.
you.
Thanks, Reena.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.